So wasn't quite sure at that point whether I wanted to get into contaminated land or not, but geography is a good start. Then I moved on to Imperial College and did a master's and graduated in 2003. I've lived and worked in England, Ireland, Netherlands, Belgium, and finally Australia. So I'm an environmental consultant that specialises in contaminated land management and remediation. I've got 18 years experience in consulting and also remediation contracting, so actually getting your hands dirty and cleaning stuff up. As Kathy alluded to earlier, I'm a former Vice President of the Australian Contaminated Lands Association. So what do I do? I manage the contaminated land business in WA for WSB. We're a multidisciplinary engineering consultancy headquartered in Montreal in Canada. And I lead the team of environmental professionals comprising engineers and scientists. We deliver a range of services associated with the investigation and cleaning-up of contaminated land. So what does my role entail? We need some things bouncing off here for the presentation, so it's going to be a bit boring. But, so team management and direction, developing our business plan and then delivering it, business development and client management, recruitment, mentoring, training, developing my team, project management, technical direction and project directorship, and my journey. This was such a great slide, I need to turn this around. So I had this meandering river that started with university. So my first job out of university was in a lab. It was the lab of Mid-Kent Water. Quite an interesting role. It was sort of half consultancy, half lab-based. And then I progressed through environmental consultancy from kind of graduate up to, I guess you'd call it a junior, and then a senior. And then I meandered around to remediation contracting. It's all great writing raps and things like that, or remediation action plans, but to actually do it is a completely different kettle of fish. So when you're sat in front of your computer as a consultant and you're saying, oh, we can achieve this goal and we can do this, and it's so easy to put into a sentence, but actually when you get on site and there's infrastructure and stuff in the way and trucks flying around, slightly different. But definitely a real key part of being a consultant is to get your hands dirty and understand how it all works. I'll turn this around. So after remediation contracting, I moved back into consultancy. There is a limit to getting dirty. And then moved my way up to associate, senior associate, principal, and then manager. And eventually became, or am becoming, a leader. It's easy to manage, but it's also easy to lead. Management is just, you will meet these KPIs. Leading is kind of inspiring your team, and that's what I like to do. So I had this timeline that started in 1999, and it's gone up to 2019 with all the different companies, I guess, that I worked with, and the highlights and the lowlights. I guess I won't go through all of it. I'll just go through the highlights and the lowlights because I guess in this industry it's not all glamour. So some of the highlights, I'll start from the bottom and work up. So at the lab, I guess my highlight, and don't read into this, was analysing narcotics for customs. There's no direct link there, but to see the quantities that were seized and brought into our lab, it was ridiculous. And we actually used a big block of hashish to keep the door open. That's it. So it's really interesting, but on the technical side, just the extractions and the way that these things are validated was really interesting. So did some investigation of gasworks in the next two consultancies that I worked for. Gasworks are interesting places. There's heaps of contamination everywhere, and you need to know where you're looking. But we got engaged for the Transco British gas contract back in the UK when I was working there. Probably spent about 4 years investigating gasworks. Probably one of the hardest things to clean up, actually. So the lowlights of that was the smell of the phenols. I think I smelled like a gasworks for 4 years. You can shower, you can do all sorts of things, but you can't get those smells out. And probably my most vivid memory of gasworks is when you drive onto the site and you can taste almonds. It's a bit alarming, but it's ferrocyanide, so it's the cyanide that's in the dust that's being blown around, and it turns a sort of blue. So that would have been the low light, the smells and the taste. So after those initial consulting jobs, I moved to a group called DEMI, which is DEMI Environmental Contractors. They're the guys that washed, I can't recall how many million tonnes of soil for the London Olympics. Really great company to work for, and lots of experience, hands-on experience with various remediation technologies, from sort of soil washing, sediment treatment, through to injection, all sorts of stuff. So that was really, really cool. Now the low light of that was, and I didn't sink this barge on my own, but we sunk a barge in Dublin docks because it was full of sediments, and the guy that was meant to be pumping out the ballast was actually sick on that day and nobody noticed. Thankfully I was too junior to actually to realise that something was wrong, and I had a PM to point the finger out and say, geez, what are you doing? But this barge sank, and you can imagine wet sediment's quite heavy, and it wasn't a small barge. I think you've probably dealt with those sort of barges, haven't you? Yeah. It basically stopped all the car transporters into the dock for about 4 days. So you can imagine our client's Dublin Port Authority, it's their port, and they can't get any revenue from these boats coming in and out. So it's a little bit awkward, but at the same time it was really great because the solution that we came up with was to engage a dive team to resurrect wrecks, and so they tied on something like 150 helium balloons the size of cars, and they actually floated this thing. And when they were putting it all together, we had everybody stood on the dock, and we were all like, this isn't going to work. And sure enough, this barge came up, and anyway, I was pretty pleased with the outcome. So that's, then I moved over from Europe to Australia, to Sydney, and I worked for a company called Connell Wagner. Connell Wagner are a big engineering company. I guess their environmental arm was quite small at that stage. Biggest highlight of that job was actually sampling, I think it was the northeast apron of the airport, whilst planes were sort of coming in and out. So we had a cordoned off area, but super cool dealing with a drill rig while these planes are landing and you're in the middle there going, no worries. So that was exciting. I then moved from Connell Wagner to ACOM in Sydney as an associate environmental scientist. Probably the best and biggest project that I worked on there was the Port Kembla Outer Harbour EIA. I'm not sure if anyone here is familiar with Port Kembla, but there's a lot of contamination there. So it was looking at the sediments, the land, the groundwater, and the whole thing to be able to expand it and handle and treat the sediments. So that was really exciting. And the low light from that one, again, was sediments. I seem to end up with sediments anyway. Was Kendall May Marina, which was next to a gasworks again. And we were literally wading through to get fibre cores down to depth in the nearshore sediments. But again, a real key piece of putting your kind of experience together and getting your hands dirty. From there, I moved on to URS. Probably the best company I've worked for. A real family feel. I think Ian will probably attest to that.
Yeah, sure.
And I was fortunate enough to be elevated from a kind of associate environmental level through to a team leader of the risk and liability group under a guy called John Davies, who's basically inspired me to kind of follow the leadership route. So I managed probably 8 people. I think the team there was something like 40, and we all were designated teams, so it's 14 leaders. So it's about 10 people there. And that was my first taste of management, really. So that was quite rewarding. Highlights from working at URS were managing the Exxon Mobil contract. And also the kind of environmental side of the Woodside contract. So the Karratha gas plant and Pluto and all those sites up in the north of WA. Am I right for time? 5 minutes, cool, thank you. So from there, I moved on to Oricon. I saw someone from Oricon had signed in. Can you put your hand up? Hello, nice to meet you, family. So Oricon are the old Conal Wagner that kind of got rebranded essentially. And it's a completely different company. And in terms of engineering, I don't think much has changed. But in terms of their environmental outlook, it's amazing. I really enjoyed it. So I led the contaminated sites team there. And basically ran the defence program in WA. I think defence is one of those clients that have such a raft of different sites and contamination issues that it's probably my love, and you'll see why in a minute. So that was really good. And then I moved to WSP, where I am now. So my biggest highlight from WSP is actually being the project manager for the PFAS remediation project up in Catherine, in the Northern Territory. Not sure if you guys have seen that, but in the news or anything, but they had Erin Brockovich over, and it was a bit intimidating, really. I think Erin was paid, but nevertheless she came over. So look, the community are quite upset with defence, to put it lightly, and Erin didn't help the situation. So in terms of actually undertaking the project, we had to wear high-vis that wasn't branded. We weren't allowed to talk about anything if we were in town, etc., etc. But the good news is that there's, I won't tell you how many treatment plants, but there's a couple of treatment plants running, and the situation's getting better. So I think that's probably my most rewarding project. And the low light of WSP, and it's a necessary evil, unfortunately, is panel tenders. Panel tenders, panel tenders, panel tenders, but once you're on them, it's great. So like I say, it's a necessary evil. So my take-home messages. So always back yourself. If you don't back yourself and you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to, and you're not going to give out that confidence that is required to kind of speak to clients and influence them and get them to make the right decisions. Walk through open doors. By that I mean, if opportunities present themselves, take them. There is always a certain amount of kind of nervousness about it all, but take the opportunity and rise to it. Don't be afraid of responsibility. Learn and listen to your peers. I know everybody comes out of uni and says, oh yeah, I've done a degree and I know everything. It's a useful start. But I guess for contaminated land, it's probably slightly different from some other facets of the environment, but they don't teach you contaminated land. So you do your 5 years, your 3 years, whatever, and you turn up on your first day at the office and someone says, right, we're going to send you out and you're going to do hydrosleeve sampling, and you're just like, I don't remember that, bullshit. So it's a bit of a learning curve at the beginning, but it's definitely worth it. Maintain your integrity and your honesty. You can only bullshit so much, and I've learned that through the years. You know, you'll speak to clients and they'll say, oh, WSP, surely you can do this, and you're like, yeah. But then they say, okay, right, well, here's a brief, go and design X, and you're like, hang on, can't actually do that. So always be honest. Challenge what you're being told, and don't be afraid to be challenged and receive good feedback. It's really important because, you know, the industry's changing so quickly that I guess contemporary knowledge is always a bit out of date. So if you've got an archaic team manager like myself telling you that you should do something and you've read something else somewhere that says, oh, you could do it better this way, then challenge. Don't be afraid of making mistakes, like sinking barges, because that's how we learn. Join professional bodies like EIANZ and network with your peers. Get out there and speak to people, because there's lots of talented people in our industry. Do some research. So, you know, I've done labs, consulting, acid sulfate soils, PFAS, blah, blah, blah. There's certain aspects of it that just don't interest me. I probably shouldn't say that, but it's true. And find out what you really love, because that's going to drive the passion in you. Without that, it's just going to be a day-to-day job. Work hard and play hard. It's great to be able to drink a beer and do a speech at an industry event, so good venue, thank you. And be passionate and basically enjoy your career. I've got one last slide, which I'll show you. So this is actually a real building. And so the quote that sort of goes with it is, question the predictable, stand for innovation and change the landscape. This is actually the Centre for Brain Health, and it is in Las Vegas, so you know you can understand it. But that's a real building. Who comes up with a building like that? But you know, it's won awards, and it's I think it's awesome. So and that's it. Oh. I'm not sure how to talk. Thank you very much for that.
Unless you're going to sprint that on me as well.
Our next presenter has more than 20 years of experience working in various roles within the environmental sector. He has been the lead author at the Australian Centre for Geomechanics International Mining Conferences in 2016, 2018 and 2019, and was also the lead author at the Goldfields Environmental Management Group workshop in 2016. He's currently an environmental officer at the Department of Mines, Industry Regulation and Safety. Please welcome Adam Ashby.
Wow, how many people down here? 35 people, Kevin? Did you count everyone? Make sure everyone's signed in?
Yeah.
It's funny when we have to sign into these things, because it always asks you a question if you're a student. I'm an older student, so I was thinking, should I say student? Yes or no? I thought, no, well, it's not student night, so I won't get any discounts. So I was like, no, it's student. So I'd just like to thank the previous presenter. Very interesting and exciting presentation. I'm a bit the same. I did a fantastic presentation, but something went wrong. Maybe they didn't pay the bill to run the. But it's all good. So I'd probably just like to also thank Cappy for the invite, and also other people from my mentee as well. He's not here tonight, but I also mentor students as well through the university, and also through EIANZ as well. So I guess my career is a lot different than the previous one. I'm not going to make too many jokes because I don't have anything up my sleeve, but I'll do this to watch mine and make it talk. I think everyone should go home and Google it because it's fantastic. You can have a good laugh before I get you see what he's got to say. So, but as Cameron indicated, I do work with the Mines Department. I've been there for nearly 11 years now. Previously I was working at a consultancy, which did the Point Fraser, which is down, if you may know the area. It used to be a car park and got converted to a beautiful green space. I actually walk down there every lunchtime. It's good to see how grassroots stuff has come to fruition. So we've got a lovely area there. So I encourage everyone to have a look at that at some stage. So I guess some of the questions I was asked, I spent all night working on this presentation to make it all beautiful and green and leafy, but I'll have to send it around if it's okay. You can probably circulate it.
Yeah.
Yep. So I guess, so what does the role of environmental officer involve? Well, it's complex and diverse to say the least. So one day you might be doing assessment for some drilling out in the middle of nowhere on the goldfields or out up north, and the next day you might be doing a closure plan for a large mine that's going into closure. So our role, or our department, does everything from exploration right through to closure of mines, obviously everything in between. So I've been fortunate to go all over the state. So I started in the southwest team, which is looking after the Ravensthorpe area around Esperance. Not quite the wine tasting areas, but I got a bit dab into that, so that was good. So my current position is in the north team. So again, I did some fantastic little things here, but as I've said, it's a very integral industry, so we do a lot of work and stakeholder engagement with industry people, government agencies and students as well, because I can see there's so many students here, which is great. Okay, so as I said, we provide technical advice to government bodies, industry consultants, and also I guess the general public as well, because a lot of people come in off the street and want to know how they do a certain proposal, so I'll go downstairs and meet them, and they usually come from the goldfields and someone's bring a few little nuggets in with them and they flash the nuggets and say, I'm going to be rich, I'm going to be rich. So that's fantastic. They'll get the gold fever and their eyes just light up and it's just a normal day, so it's pretty exciting. But most of our work, all of our work is done in relation to the Mining Act and mining regulations. That's the act that governs us. So on any given day, I might have to do an investigation as well, because in some instances, companies or operators might undertake work without approval. So that means I need to go and talk to people either at the office or we're going to visit the site. I spent a good 6 months in our investigations unit. I really enjoy doing that. They trained us how to do investigations, and I think it's a really interesting part because the department is all about compliance, and it's a good place to be because you get a mix of approvals and compliance. So it's really taught me a lot in my career at the department. I really enjoy doing that work. So also do environmental impact assessments as well, as I've said, for mining and also for exploration. There's so much work to do, but the state apparently is picking up in some areas, so that's a good sign, particularly around gold. And I'll talk a little bit more about my interest in gold in the preceding slides, but it is a very rewarding job, and I really enjoy working with the department. Okay, so where did my career begin? Well, I had a fantastic photo here to show when I started my career off. I'll have to get, I don't think I've changed since 1996. It's fantastic. But essentially, it started in land care, integrated farm forestry. That's where I guess cut my teeth. I was interested in, I was going to do forestry at one stage, but when I went through the cadetship, they asked if I enjoyed marking out beautiful jarrah trees, Australian New Deal for timber, and I said, I don't think I'm interested in doing that. And then I had to change my job. That was the job, was going out marking trees to be logged, and that department does a very good job, but it wasn't for me, so I changed to do some mining instead, which is a little impact compared to forestry. People might argue that it's a really to Australian landscape. So my career, like I said, started off in conservation land management, particularly around farm forestry, so looking at the sustainable farm forestry in the southwest. I really enjoyed going in there, get to meet farmers, and it was interesting to talk to them. Many people spoke to farmers, but they've got some stories to tell. And it's good because the areas that we're working on are areas that are very saline. We planted trees below the water table and changed hydrology, and also they sold the logs as well for a higher value adding product. And I suggest anyone who's interested in environment stuff to watch Landmine as well. That gives you really good insight to farm forestry and also to environmental matters as well. So I did my Bachelor of Science in Environmental Management, and I was looking at catchment management and also environmental compliance. I did a project for an abandoned gold mine through the school, the Cowan School of Science, Environmental Science. It's changed its name recently. And then I got more involved in higher level stuff as campus indicator. Put a couple of papers together, which I'll send around. They're all published. One's in press, so I'm happy to send that as well. Okay, so my environmental career, again, that I did a postgrad qualification in 2016 in, I did actually start on the go 3 years ago. So I did mine in, so I was looking at the social and environmental impacts of gold mines and tailing dam failures. So that was a good segue into doing an international conference. I presented I couldn't believe it was about 500 people. They were friendly like everyone here, and that was a good opportunity just to meet different people from around the world as well. And I'd recommend all the students, if you get opportunities to go to another country or to present a topic they're interested in, definitely do it, because it's a really good skill set to have. And I'll tie that into the take-home messages and things that I sort of suggest that students should do to help their career, because it is all well and good to have the degree, that looks good on paper, but it takes a long time to get years of experience to really hone those skills in. But I'll take my hat up to anyone, mature age student or the like, who's gone back to study, because it's a very challenging thing if you're working full-time and you're studying, but a good employer will welcome you doing that, and I definitely support anyone in my family who's doing the same. So as I said, we work with all different divisions, so we started with work on tenure as well. So a company or someone wants to come and peg a tenement, electrical pegs. We started to look at that right through to full closure. So we work with mineral titles, other government agencies as well, Department of Water and Environment Regulation, Department of Biodiversity, Attraction and Conservation, to name a few. We deal with them every day about impacts, particularly around the banded ironstone formation, so north of Perth, and also in the goldfields, a sense of areas in the southwest as well. So it's a very holistic role, and you get to deal with some really interesting areas. You can see I've travelled from Esperance right through to beyond the works. I've travelled the whole state, looking at holes in the ground, so it's been really interesting. I guess the highlight for me was to go to Coulton Island, which is a remote iron ore mine off the dam in the archipelago. We flew on a jet, and then we flew on a small charter jet. I don't know if anyone's been on a small charter jet for 7 people. It's a bit wild, isn't it? It was like something out of Raiders of the Lost Ark. I was sitting in the back with all the food and all the vegetables around me, and the guy asked how much I weighed, because they had to weigh up. I said, well, maybe 125 kilos. He said, you sure you can come in the plane? I said, well, it's 2 seats, and I'm sure I can go on that. And the funny thing is, they had to do a loop to fly out to the island and fly back, just so they could burn a bit of fuel off to land, because they landed on a really dangerous little runway. That was interesting, just seeing how a mine can operate right on the ocean. So that was a highlight of my career. And also looking at mines to the southwest, there's really sensitive areas going down there. That's another highlight. And plus, just dealing with all different people. Being part of an organisation like this, which I've got to join up as a member, so I'm sort of a freeloader tonight, Kathy, so I'll have to sort that out.
We'll remind you.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, as I said, up the career achievement. So I did a paper in 2016, 2018 and 2019. So the 2018 paper was published in the German set of proceedings. And they're a huge set of proceedings. So somehow, I don't know how I got there, but I've got a paper published there. So it's a pretty interesting paper. My interest in that was the tailings dam failure when that iron ore tailings dam burst, and I thought, I went to my old supervisor at the time and said, I've got an idea to write a paper. So
we wrote a paper, and it was another good thing to diversify and try and understand Spanish. I can speak Italian a bit, so I had to try and understand the different towns and everything, which was challenging, but it's another good idea just to spread yourself out, not just think locally, but think internationally as well, just seeing how mining impacts everyone, not just us in Australia, but people globally as well. I've got the papers here, but I can't show you. So one of the papers which I'm talking about is called Pitfalls of Gold Mines in Care and Maintenance. So sites in care and maintenance, which is a status which have no ownership. I'm interested in that as well personally, not just the department's perspective. I'm talking more generally about my own experience tonight. So I just want to make that really clear that I do have a job there, but I'm talking passionately about myself. So I'm interested in how those mines are to be managed, and also looking at like environmental liabilities and social liabilities of those sites as well, because there's a lot of them and they need a lot of management, and they're going to become legacy issues for, I guess, for future generations. So I'm trying to sell it. That's a really interesting, important part that we should all get involved in. Okay, just so I mentioned about the bursting of the seams is the other paper which has been published. You can have a look at that through my LinkedIn profile. The third paper as well is looking at abandoned mines, so I wanted to concentrate more on abandoned mines and more of the social levels internationally. So we had 4 case studies: Australia, America, China, and I chose these sites because they all have large mines, and mines have the regulation difference between jurisdiction. Western Australia has pretty good jurisdiction over mines. Even Australia deals with mines quite well. The US as well. The US has huge funds which money gets poured into to look after these sites. So a lot of my work was looking at their regulation as well. So I think the abandoned mines is something that it's interesting because the media covers all these things now. Mining's every second day something's about mining's in the paper or on the television, and there's lots of podcasts out as well. So it's becoming a real front and centre issue that, similar to your mention about your soil contamination, they go hand in hand on depending on what they mine. So it's definitely a real legacy issue that needs to be looked at. So my career achievements, well, I did some lecturing for some second year students in 2018 at EIANZ. They were all looking at progressing onto their degree, and they were in a similar situation. They were wanting to know what opportunities they have and how to get there and to meet their goals. So that was a good opportunity going into an old lab and doing a presentation very much like this, talking to people and getting students, and that's really interesting questions to ask. So that was good. Hopefully people will ask some questions later. So I do mentoring as well, as I said, through ECU and also through this organisation as well. I really enjoy doing that, teaching young undergraduates, learning how to get their foot in the door and also their career pathway. I think it's a great thing to get involved in the environment. I've been interested in the environment for ever since I can remember, so it's a good opportunity to have a professional appointment in such an organisation to do something you really love. It's a really good career to have. Right, I think we're well ahead of time, Cappy, am I?
Yeah, but you get to pick them.
Okay. So the take-home message for all the students is, I would suggest to know the sector which you want to enter, and know the roles and the interest of those roles that are open to you, and also be flexible as well. Don't be too stick in the mud, just be flexible and understanding, if there's positions out there, apply for them, put your best foot forward. If you can't do the position, at least have to try and apply, and it's a good opportunity to understand looking at selection criteria, or understanding, writing a letter to an employer, have to write a letter to my own employer to get a job. So that's always interesting. You go to a panel and it's your team leader or your manager there. That's always an interesting scenario. I've been in that a few times, and I've been fortunate to work around in the department. So I've had opportunities to move horizontally and vertically. So it's a good opportunity to have. And also, I guess, to understand, identify those roles. So doing some research, understanding about a certain company, just having a look at it, even going onto their ASX and having a look about it to understand what the company's about, the liabilities, just doing research, because a lot of companies are global. They're not just based in Western Australia or Australia, they're global companies. There's a lot of iron ore companies, gold mining companies as well. Probably another really important thing is to look at really understanding the skills, so tailor your degree or your degrees to that particular position, because the foundation degrees are really useful for getting their foot in the door, but also understanding like a problem solving, which I found is really good just for daily life. Understanding reading technical things is a good skill to have, and having a good sense of humour I think is a good thing as well. And also looking at education patterns, so that ties into the first one, just understanding the type of careers are out. One of the students I met tonight, Catherine, said to me that I said to the group of us that she started off computer science and she's doing a grad degree in environmental science. I think that's a good thing, and there's plenty of work in that field, Catherine, to do with EIANZ as well, and all the spatial stuff and computer, because things are more three-dimensional now, you can look at things in different contexts, so I think that's a really good thing to do, and hopefully get a really good position out of that. Don't be scared of the world. It's not a big bad place. Everybody comes around and a rat race in the morning and does their thing and goes home in the afternoon. I see it because I come in at the same time and leave at the same time, and I see all the patterns of people on the road and people going home. So I guess also know and sell yourself as well. So come and do a presentation like this, just to talk the talk, and just don't talk the talk, know what you're talking about as well. It's probably a good thing, but don't be too overconfident, because it's not going to work, it could be embarrassing. So just know your limits as well. I mean, even a person like myself, I've got a very small amount of knowledge, so it's good to just expand on that, again, to come to forums like this and meet different people and hear people's stories and take questions. It really helps develop yourself as well. So, and also probably the most important thing is to establish a good network. So that's the thing that's stuck in my head. So have your LinkedIn profile updated, have an updated resume on there, have like a career achievements on there, and also your career development opportunities. Put all that on there. Don't put any rubbish on there, because people could just search and find out it's a load of rubbish. So just be true to it. And also, I didn't want to use any cliches like working hard. Everybody knows you've got to work hard, because otherwise the job's not going to get done. So I think that's probably it for me, Captain. I'd like to thank everyone for listening, and I do appreciate everyone's time coming along tonight.
Okay, so our next presenter holds a master's degree in environmental science, specialising in EIANZ. He has worked in numerous projects across Western Australia and has been in the environmental sector as a geospatial scientist for around 2 years. He is currently a geospatial scientist at MBS Environmental, and also happens to be a fantastic soccer player. That plays the EW and football club. Please welcome Richard Olsen.
Alright, well, thanks very much for that introduction. It was longer than I expected it to be. I certainly felt after Chris and Adam speaking that the experience that I bring to the table is a lot less than what they did, but you did a great job of blowing it out a bit. As you're all aware, I can't show you the slides, but I'll talk you through them, and I'll do my level best to explain any particularly good images that I had in there. So this was called from student to the workplace, tips and tricks. It looks like a lot of people here are sort of in that position where they're likely to be students or in the latter stages of being students and moving into the workplace. So this is pitched towards those people. Apologies to those that have been in the industry a while and have seen all the aspects that I'm going to go on to talk on. So I'll start with my career summary. I completed an undergraduate in sustainable development in 2013. From there I went on and got a job as a business development manager at a waste management company. They're called Claw Environmental, and they specialise in plastic recycling. So my job there was to work with, I guess, big businesses, look at their waste streams, have a look at how we can separate out plastics, and from there separate plastics into various plastic types. It was an interesting job, but it didn't take me long to realise that that wasn't what I wanted to do long term. So a year into that, I started some postgraduate study. That was a Masters of Environmental Science, specialising in GIS, as Kathy mentioned. So I kept working at NBS until 2017, and then at the start of 2017, I was fortunate to get a job on a research project that Murdoch University were carrying out. So that was having a look, I guess, on a 20-year basis at the likely implications of increased potable water demand in the metro area and how that was going to affect regional areas, particularly the goldfields. So that was fantastic. I was able to do some work, make a little bit of money, and work on my master's thesis at the same time. Pretty ideal, and it was fairly cruisy, and I got to put into play the GIS skills that I was learning. I graduated from that postgraduate degree at the end of 2017. The research project wrapped up at the start of 2018, and then I was very fortunate to get a job at NBS Environmental pretty soon after my role in the research project wrapped up. Had some great pictures here. One of me holding a snake, looking absolutely terrifying. So as I said, I'm now at NBS Environmental. So we're based in West Perth. We're an environmental consultancy. We also have a geospatial branch, a geoscience branch of the business, primarily geochemists who I have no idea what they do. So we work predominantly with mining companies in Western Australia. We help them with their environmental management and helping them achieve their approvals and compliance under state and federal legislation. We work primarily, I'd say, with sort of like junior to mid-tier businesses across a range of resources and a range of regions, which is fantastic to get exposed, I guess, to working. I started as a graduate, so working at that level, you get sort of tagged onto various projects, and it's a fantastic way to sort of accelerate your learning and develop a really good understanding of the environment in Western Australia and hone in on something that you like doing, I guess. So, as I said, I joined as a graduate environmental scientist, and I currently work under the title of geospatial scientist. So within that, I would say about half the work that I do falls within the GIS and geospatial. GIS is, I imagine most people know, geographic information systems. And then the rest of what I do is approvals and compliance. So unintentionally, I've sort of fallen into approvals and compliance for gas pipelines, but I certainly work with some of the mining clients, helping them achieve working towards mining proposals, closure plans, some interesting stuff. I did have some good figures here. This is the thing, as a geospatial scientist, you work to produce figures that are interesting and tell you a lot, but I can't help out at this stage. One of the great things about being at NBS is that they're a small enough company that I've been able to sort of, I guess, pitch to the company the idea of developing our geospatial services. And within that, they've said, yeah, look, go for it, what can you do? So I guess within that, we've focused on a few things. One of them is landscape visual impact assessment. So a lot of mining companies now are looking at, I guess, how they can reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, and something that you'd naturally go for is renewable energy viable? So one of our clients is, I guess, evaluating how viable it is for them to set up a concentrated solar power array and an array of wind turbines. Within, I guess, you call it the view shed of those, there's 160 metres high, the turbines, so there's something you can see a long way away. So, we're looking at how's that likely to impact on a couple of remote Aboriginal communities in the area? And so, we've turned that into a project which is really interesting. I guess a couple of the other sort of geospatial things that I get to do, and we're focusing on landform modelling and analysis. So a lot of that is looking at waste rock dumps for mines. They erode. They're not meant to. Well, you'd like them not to, but they do. So it's how can you manage, I guess, their performance? How can you achieve the best environmental outcomes with spatial data? Another thing, I guess my thesis at uni was a spatial multiple criteria analysis. That was looking at the potential to power remote Aboriginal communities with small-scale renewable energy systems. So that's sort of a skill set. That spatial multiple criteria analysis is a skill set that I built up on. I guess we haven't rolled it into work at MBS yet, but there's certainly some interest there. That's something that we're it's great that I can pursue. So that sort of brings to an end my career summary. It's far less impressive than the first two, but here we are. So the title of this was Put Yourself Out There. To some degree, I guess, preaching to be converted. You're all here, you're coming along to events, you'll come along here, you'll meet people, and you'll start to develop a network. And I think that as a student, you graduate in large cohorts, and there's only so many companies looking for graduates at any one year. So you've got to start to look, how can I set myself apart from these? Who I visit? And for me, I think it's just letting people know that you're a normal person. You don't need to be hidden in a cupboard. You can hold a conversation. It's really important, and most people can do it. It's just having the confidence to put yourself out there. The next thing is have a look at someone that's working in a field that you want to be in, that's in a role that you're looking at and saying, in 5 years' time or in 10 years' time, I want to be doing that, and track that person down. I'm not saying do that in a weird way. Get on LinkedIn, try and find their email address. I've done this in the past, sent someone a message, sort of thinking I'm unlikely to hear back from them, but people are generally really nice. So send a message, say, look, I'm really interested in what you're doing, can we catch up for a coffee? And I can't guarantee it, but I'd say there's a pretty high likelihood that person will go, yeah, look, that's kind of flattering, and I understand, I was there myself. So that's something that I'd really advise you to do. And I guess I touched on it earlier, but in doing that, in being here tonight, you start to develop a network. And I guess, you're not all necessarily going to stay in Western Australia, but it's not a huge place, and you'll meet people from various companies, and when it comes to applying for jobs, it only takes you walking past someone when you've walked in the door for an interview. It's little things like that that actually make a huge difference. So my next point was don't stop developing. So certainly for me, when I finished my undergraduate, and even when I finished my postgraduate, you kind of feel like, that's a huge step, now I'm done. But it's absolutely not. It's graduating any degree, it's just one step in what's going to be, a long ladder or a long staircase that is your career. So I guess within that, if you're in a position, even if you're working, but particularly if you're in a position where you've finished uni or you're nearing finish uni, have a look at how you can further develop your skill set. So that's, there's plenty of fantastic online courses that you can do. There's conferences on all the time. Seminars, events like this where you can go along, and I guess the idea is that you get an inside edge, a better understanding of how you can approach what's the big issue. It's moving from being a student to getting a job, and it's not easy. Certainly I recall finishing my degree and looking at graduate positions that seemed to all want 10 years experience, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but you need to push through and sort of find out how you can get your foot in the door. Another thing that I would advise people to do is get to know the legislation that sort of sits around what you want to be doing. I didn't do it, and I wish I had. But it's hugely valuable to your employer or a potential employer if you really understand the legislative framework around where you're going. Certainly as a consultant, but I imagine in the public sector as well, having a sort of robust understanding of those systems is fantastic. My final sort of point was be a sponge. I had a fantastic picture of SpongeBob SquarePants, but I'll keep it to myself. So learn from the experts that you know and work with. It's certainly the best resource for me since I've started in all the jobs that I've been in, actually, not just in the environmental field, is, you know, talk with and learn from the people that have been there for 10 years, that have been there for 15 years. They've been in your position, and everything that you're sort of bumping into and going, shit, I should understand this, I don't even know what they're talking about. They've been there, and they're people, and as I said before, most people are nice, and they're willing to go, yeah, look, let's have a chat. I'm very happy to explain this to you. Ask lots of questions. It's implied that you're going to be asking lots of questions as you enter into the industry, so certainly don't assume there's an expectation that you know what's going on at all times. I think that as people, you know, develop their understanding of systems, not everyone, but they sort of tend to forget what it was like not to understand these things. So as you enter the industry, be very ready to go, look, I don't understand it, don't know what that acronym is, don't know what you're talking about. It'll help you out a lot. I do it all the time. Try and find a mentor. That's something. It's something that's been really valuable for me. I guess it's not, if you don't know anyone in the industry, this is a harder one to sort of drill down on. But if you can find someone, you know, like I said, if you hit someone up on LinkedIn, like, if you can turn that into sort of an ongoing, you know, catch up and set some goals and be held accountable, that's fantastic. And I think that that's a massive accelerator for developing and certainly pushing yourself along on an ongoing basis. And then if you get the flexibility when you get a job, work on as diverse a range of projects as you can. So that's, I guess, unfortunate at MBS. As I said, we work with a diverse range of clients. So, you know, my background's GIS, but I've been fortunate to get up on site, get an understanding, I guess, the inherent qualities of various regions of Western Australia, which is really helpful. So, you know, any opportunity, throw your hand up and get involved. So, I'll just finish by saying, you know, my undergraduate sustainable development, finishing that, there was no expectation from myself that I'd ever wind up working in an environmental consultancy as a, you know, geospatial specialist. But I guess I kept tabs with business development manager at a plastic recycling company. But I really encourage people to pursue what they're interested in, and I'm sure you all are. So my points of transitioning from being a student to the workplace, put yourself out there, don't
Thank you, Richard. Next presenter is Russell. Holds a master's degree in environmental engineering. Has worked in the environmental sector for 2 years. And has had experience working on various mining projects, and is currently working as a mining consultant at Strategy JBS NG. Please welcome Anish Tusi.
Hello everyone. Well, I'm Anish, and I'm here today to share with you my experiences from my career so far. And at one point I was sitting in the crowd at going to networking events, thinking of how would I ever get a job, because it's a very tight industry out there. First of all, for sharing all of these things, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I graduated with a Bachelor of Civil Engineering from ECU in 2015, and I completed a Master's in Environmental Engineering from UWA in 2018. And after that, I got employed at Westco Resources. At Westco Resources as a vacation student first, and eventually as a graduate engineer, environmental engineer, until 2019. And after that, recently, I've joined GBSNJ 1.5 months back as a mining consultant. So, how did I get my first job? I guess this is why everyone is here. Well, I know it's a very tough market out there for new graduates, but it's all about trying very hard to apply for jobs. Before getting my first vacation job, I applied for at least 300 jobs. And I was sitting there in the library every night, spending 1 hour just sending applications. And one mistake that I did was my resume and cover letter wasn't good enough. It was just something that I just started writing up. But with the help of uni gives services to actually help you write your cover letter and resume to put it up to the standard. I finally put out a job and at West Gold as a vacation student, and well, I was very lucky. But the thing is, I never gave up. I just kept applying, and eventually, yeah, I got the job. And this is all what I needed. Out of how much applications we sent, even 1,000 applications, we just did that one job to be able to actually get in the industry, get that experience, and start working. And yeah, once I started working at West Gold, well, during my vacation work, I got a very, very good mentor. So I was mentored very well. And once I got my graduate program, I was enrolled in the graduate program, so I was mostly involved in all the monitoring activities on the site, coordinating all the waste management, developing management plans, and doing all that type of site inspections and audits, and doing all kinds of reportings, and also overlooking of the rehabilitation activities. And I worked at West Gold for 1 year. Then I said, okay, it's time for a change because it wasn't challenging enough. I've learned what I had to learn. And then I started applying. So I sent around 25 to 30 applications. So from 300 applications without no job experience, just dropping to around 25 applications, just because my resume and cover letter just started building up eventually. Then I got lucky again, second time, and I was hired as a mining consultant at GBSNJ. Mostly because being site-based at West Gold, I've got a lot of exposure. I've got the opportunity of doing many courses as well, like handling stakes, or doing underground mining rescue, firefighting courses, and I was always looking for my personal development first, how I could get the most out of the companies, and how to actually grow eventually. And getting a very good understanding and knowledge of all the mining activities, I eventually got the opportunity to work with GBSNJ, where now I'm providing mostly corporate support to mining companies, working for exploration activities, giving support to exploration activities, applying for licenses, doing mining proposals, mining closure plans, and also assisting in part 4 NEPPC Act approvals, and also assisting in doing pre-feasibility studies, sorry, I always get pre-feasibility studies for new mining projects, and also developing management plans for new companies or all the companies. But yeah, this is about my career, but we are all here to actually know and understand the difference between what is university and what is industrial life. Well, working for companies, first thing, no more assignments. And no more late night studies. And I know many of you have done this. No more sleeping under the table at night, just because of deadlines. And also no more 2-minute noodles. But also, there is a lot of responsibilities working because you've got deadlines to deliver projects. And you're actually dealing with real projects here. So it's not like you've got 5% out of your marks just because you're delivering the assignments one day later. But nowadays, costs involved, so you've got to deliver the projects in time. And also what I found very interesting is the university gives you just the fundamentals to start your career. But however, you just need to keep on learning because there's so much more out there in the industry. And whenever you join a new job, you always start zero, you don't know anything. And you've got to be patient and you have to like, keep on going because it's very frustrating at sometimes. You do a lot of mistakes, like I did, some unforgivable and some unforgivable, but I'm still here. But it's all like if you're getting a good mentor, a good boss who understands your position and who is actually there to support you, then it's good. But if you're getting like a very, I would say, strict boss, then it's not good. So it's always good to actually go for proper interviews and check if how your bosses are and what kind of people you're going to work with. But I know that at first when we get the first opportunity, we always grab it. So we don't get much choices. And also what I've noticed like in uni is we don't get a lot of leadership and management we need to study. Being in a company, we deal a lot with clients, we deal a lot of people, we have to do like a lot of presentations, speeches, and this is one thing that I guess is lacking in uni is we don't actually go out and actually learn how to deal with people or how to speak with people. And this is I think the most important part of all. And you've got to learn it, and I'm sure that uni has electives based on leadership or management units that is completely out of our courses, which sometimes is very useful to take and to actually learn. And also, I guess there's not enough industrial engagement in between uni students and industry. Today it's good to see so many of you here, because I think and I feel that networking is very, very important. Just like all of us in here, we go to unis, we've got like 200, 300 students in our class, all of them are top marks, but what would differentiate you guys from the other people is to actually go to these events, make your name out there, brand your name. This is what you need. You need to brand your name, make sure that people know you. You're actually talking to people. There's no shy in being a student and not knowing anything and just going out there to talk to people, because this is, I think, for me, this is the most important thing. You can go like on the top of your career just by networking, because people actually need to know you. You need to be open, you need to be able to speak to people. And join clubs organized in uni. There's a lot of clubs, lots of career events. Go and talk to people probably. That's one big way of doing it. And also, don't forget to apply for summer vacation programs. This is the most important part of the first step of your career. If you get a proper vacation program, then it's easy for you to actually get a proper job. If not, it becomes very hard, because there's not a lot of jobs out there, and this is what I feel. But there's a lot of jobs for people who has a little bit of experience, but summer vacation job is very, very important. And I think it is very challenging at first, but keep moving forward and be ambitious. When I first came here, I came here as an international student. It was very hard at first to get involved, to change, but eventually speaking with people, socializing, actually got better and better. Yeah, today I'm being able to speak in front of a lot of people, which is a honor actually. And yeah, you learn as you go and become better with time. But most importantly, you need to have fun. at every stage of your career, being a student, I miss my student days because that was the best days of my life. I miss staying in the uni camps because we had a lot of parties and drinking outside and sleeping outside and things like that. I know many of you must be doing this. Enjoy it, have fun. As you grow, each stage of your career, always have fun, but keep on learning and be ambitious. And yeah, I think these are all the most important tips I will give you. But Kabi, I think we are go ahead.
As the presenters come to the front, so we'll open it up for 10 minutes for questions.
Now the fun starts.
You spoke first.